Hello friends and welcome to Moe'sMods. Today we're going to go over some mods for your Strat-O-Matic PC Baseball game. I'm going to go over some things like ballpark images, player images, something called a layout file and a location file, and then another file called work.bmp. I'll explain to you what these are, how they work, and so on. But before I get started, I'd like to send a shout out to a couple guys in the Strat-O-Matic World Facebook group, Butch Jerome and Berglund. These two guys have done some crazy cool stuff with player images and ballpark images, and they are an invaluable resource in getting your game to look so much better. I mean, if you want to include player images with your game, Brian's Ballpark is just a fantastic resource for that. He's also got some ballpark images, and Butch Jerome has done some really cool stuff with ballpark images as well. Somehow he finds the sweetest looking stadium photos, and he'll take a daytime photo and make a nighttime photo of it, so you have a daytime and a nighttime version of the stadium. So, like I said, when I explain to you what these guys do, and I'll give you links to where you can access their resources. It'll save you a ton of time. Just remember, Butch Jerome and Brian Berglund, thank you guys a ton for all the work that you do. I know you put a lot into it, and I, for one, really appreciate it. So let's get started on this week's lesson, if that's what you want to call it. Go grab yourself a Pepsi. I'll meet you right back here, and then we'll get started, okay? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how the player images work. So I'm going to load a standard game that I have saved here. I'm using the 2012 baseball season. You'll notice there's a couple of generic photos on the screen, this one here and this one here. These are the default photos. So as the game is being played, each time a new batter comes to the plate, the Strat-O-Matic baseball game will look for a file with that player's name, followed by a JPEG extension, and if it finds it, based on the year that you're using, it will display that image here. Now, I don't have any player photos installed right now, so because I wanted to show you how I'm going to do that. So once I do download and install the player photos, Miguel Cabrera, his image should show up here. So let's take a look at where those files are first, and then how I'm going to update it. If I go to my Windows Explorer, and here in my Strat-O-Matic Baseball folder, there's another folder called Player. There's also a Player Back. I made this folder just like I did with my data last week, because I want to be able to restore my game to its original state if I move something up. So anyway, in the Player folder, there are some subfolders: batters, leagues, pitchers, and team logos. The key ones here are batters and pitchers. If I go to the batters folder, you'll see there's a default.jpg and a work.bmp. These are the only two files right now in the player batters folder. So if I open up this default JPEG, you'll see it's that image that shows up on the screen right here. And that's where the game goes to look for these files. Now, the next step is to find a place where I can download the files, or download each one myself and set it up first. Well, the cool thing about that is a lot of the work has been done for you, like I said, by a guy named Brian Berglund. He has a website called Brian's Ballparks, and we're going to go there and we're going to get the player images files for 2012. So just hang on a minute. I'm going to open up a Windows Internet Explorer, or I guess it's Microsoft Edge here. I'm going to open up this window, and then I'm going to search for Brian's Ballparks. And right here we have Brian's Strat-O-Matic Ballparks and Player Photos site. When you see what this guy has done, you're going to say, I need this stuff, because it'll save you tons of time creating player image files, and ballpark images as well. So here we go. This is Brian's website. Here you'll see he's got his parks. These are his ballpark images. Here's where he has his player picks. and that's where we're going to go to get his player photos for the 2012 season. So I'm going to go here, and right here he has these complete photo sets with the alias file, and I'm going to explain to you what that does too after I download the file. So let's go ahead and we'll get this 2012 season, and I'm just going to save it. Should go to my downloads folder. It's getting there, just be patient. Okay, so it's been downloaded. So if I go to my view downloads, here we have this 2012.zip file. Looks like I downloaded it before, so I'm just going to open this file right here. And here you go. You'll see there's a batters.zip, a pitchers.zip, and an alias.txt file. So I'm just going to move this window over. I'm going to close my Microsoft Edge for now. I'm going to go back over here. So here's the player batters folder. So I'm going to go here to the batters.zip file. And here are all the files that we're going to copy from this zip file into the batter. So if you click on one file name and then hit press Control A on your keyboard, that will select all the photos, and then you can just drag them over to the batters folder. Now this might take a minute or two depending on the speed of your internet connection. I'm sorry, the speed of your your hard drive, but it probably won't take too long. And I'm going to replace any files that might be in there. It might be his default photos, I'm not sure. Okay, so we got the batters done. I'm going to go back to the player folder. I'm going to go to pictures now, and you'll see I don't have any pictures in there yet. So let's go back one step here. We're going to do the same thing with the pictures. Like I said, click on one name, press Control A to select all, and then just drag them over. Now, as you can see, this is a lot quicker than going out to the web and downloading every photo for the season that you want. If it's on Brian's Ballpark's website, all the work's done for you. So think about this. We're talking 600, 700, 800 photos, and Brian has done this for multiple seasons. So imagine sitting there and downloading these files. He's doing this for you and me, and for no other reason than the fact that he loves Strat-O-Matic Baseball. So Brian, that's friggin' cool. So here we go. Let's just take a look here. We have what? Here we have 1,400 photos in the pictures folder. So he went out and got 1,400 photos. You know, players like Adam Warren. Look at these. You know. If he didn't do this, you would have to do this all yourself. So again, I can't stress this enough. Mad props to you, Brian. This is cool stuff. Okay, so the next step here we have to take a look at. It's this file called the alias file. I don't know what's going on here. Maybe I went too far back. Let me go back to my downloads, and we'll open up this. Here's this alias.txt file, okay? Oh, I think I know what's going on. I had the wrong window open. I got to open up another file explorer here. Okay, so now I have this alias.txt. Now let's take a look at that real quick. You'll see right here, there's a code here, P for pitcher, and I believe there should be another B for batter in there. Yep, there's the B for the batter. Has the player's name, the season, the team they were on, and the code, which is represents the name of the file that it's going to look for. So in this particular instance, when Brian Peterson comes to the plate in your Strat-O-Matic baseball game, and you're playing the 2012 season, and I guess what's this, Minnesota? I'm not sure what. Oh, the Marlins, I bet. Miami Marlins. And then it's going to look for a file for Brian Peterson. Okay, so now that we've downloaded all the picture photos, the next step is we need to get what's called an alias file and put it into player folder. So I'm going to go back here to this player folder, and you'll see there's already a file called alias.txt. I think this is just a default or generic. I might have done this, but all it has is Sandy Alomar for 10 years. But we need a file that has a list of all these players in it and the JPEG file that's associated with them, okay? So I'm going to go back to my download. I've already done the batters and pitchers. I'm going to take this alias file. I'm going to overwrite this alias file with it. So I'll just drag this over here. I'll replace the file in the destination. And now we'll take a quick look at that alias file. So here you can see all the players that I was talking about a little while ago. Pitchers, batters, so on. So this is the 2012 season. I'm going to close these windows, go back to my game. We'll close that. I don't need to save it. Now I'm just going to reopen that game and we'll see if we got our player photos. Well, hot dog, how about that? There's Miggy and he's coming to play. We'll just play a couple batters here just to show you how the players and pitchers will change. So Miggy grounded out. He's done. That brings up Prince Fielder. And now you'll see Anibal Sanchez is pitching for the Tigers, and Bennett is now the batter for the Orioles. So that's how you get your player photos into the game. And believe me, so much work has been done by Brian Berglund to get this for you. And this is just 1 year. So imagine doing this for all those seasons. This is just incredible work this guy does, and I can't thank him enough. But anyway, there we go. That's how you get the player photos. Now we're going to move on to what the work.bmp file is. So as you can see, we got our player photos up there. Now you'll notice that we have this image, the ballpark image of Comerica Park. And you see the little gray box here that goes around Comerica Park. If I click on that and I stretch this photo, you'll notice that it still pretty much retains its quality. It doesn't get too pixelated, it doesn't look too blurry or anything like that. Now the problem that we run into with the player photos is they're not scalable like this. You can drag this box to any size you want and it's going to stretch that photo to fit the box. But the nicer the pictures you have of the ballpark, the more you'll be able to stretch and scale it. That does not work the same way with the player images. The player image, we'll take a look at this hitter right here. I'm going to stretch this image. Now actually that's still pretty good. If we get bigger and bigger here, you can see that the image starts to pixelate. Now the reason for this is whenever a batter comes to the plate, the Strat-O-Matic PC Baseball game will take that player photo and copy it into another file called work.bmp. Now when it does this, it resizes that BMP to a specific size that works best in a frame that's about this size. And Brian's he's done a lot of work with his images to make sure that they fit to that scale. And the scale is 180 pixels wide and 270 pixels tall. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to my Strat-O-Matic Baseball folder. I'm going to go to the player folder. I'm going to go to the batters folder. And we're going to go down and find this file called work.bmp. So right here, here's this work.bmp. I'm going to open this up in Microsoft Paint so you can take a look. Right now, this guy is the batter. So when I'm sorry, this is the pitcher. Is it the pitcher? No, this is the batter. When Betterman came to the plate, the game copied his photo into this work.bitmap. And if we look at the size of this image, it's 180 pixels wide and 270 pixels tall. And that is hard-coded in the game somewhere. So no matter what you do, you can get the best. You could get a picture of a player that's 4,000 pixels wide and 8,000 pixels tall. But when that player comes to the plate, it's going to copy that, resize it into this format, and you'll never get a better quality than the 180 by 270. So the best image quality you're going to get for a batter or a pitcher is going to be this 180 by 270. So as long as you don't stretch the image up too much, it's still going to look pretty good. So I'll just reload my game here. Oops, I'm sorry. I gotta reload my game screen layout. We're gonna get into this in a little bit too. And there we go. So as long as you keep these images to a relative size, without scaling these two particular frames, the images are gonna look just fine. Okay, so that's pretty much how all the player photos work. The key there is whenever the new batter comes to the plate, like here we have Miggy. If I open up this work.bitmap again, you'll see it's Miggy's picture. I'm going to go over here and just run a play. Now the new batter's Prince Fielder. We'll go back to the work.bitmap. And there you go. Prince is now the batter. So nothing you can do about that. That's one thing I haven't figured out how to get around, but that's okay. That's how the player images work. We're going to go over ballpark images. So you'll see here I have a nice image of Comerica Park. And there are files in the Strat-O-Matic Baseball data folder that correspond with each one of these ballparks. So let's go take a look and see where this image is coming from. So I'm going to go to the C Strat-O-Matic Baseball folder, the data folder, and we're going to look for files that start with the letters BP. Okay, now I happen to know that BP069 is the code for the Comerica Ballpark. And the N and the D represent day games and night games. So BP069D is a daytime image of Comerica. If I open that up, you'll see, there we go. And that's the same image that I have over here. And when we play a night game at Comerica, it's going to open up this BP069N bitmap. And that's the nighttime version of it. Now, if we change what these images are, we'll get a different image in this frame here. So, and another cool thing about the Strat-O-Matic PC Baseball game is, depending on what season you're playing, you might get a different image here. For example, in 2012, the Tigers were playing in Comerica Park. Back in 1968, they were playing at Tiger Stadium. So if I play my 1968 season, I'm going to see Tiger Stadium here, not Comerica Park. So we can change these images if we want, and I'll show you how to do that. And then I'm also going to show you a really nice chart that Brian Berglund has on his website that explains which ballpark is associated with which file. So we're going to get to that next. Now, how do we know which file is associated with each image? Again, we're going to go check out Brian's ballparks. And I'm just going to scroll down this main page, and down here at the bottom, he's created this nice little chart right here for you. So it gives you the SOM code, the city, the ballpark, the year that it was active, and I guess some alternative codes. I've never done anything with these yet, so maybe we'll get into that someday. But for right now, we're going to go find Comerica Park on this list. And it looks like it's right here. So the code is 69, Detroit Comerica Park, and they opened that up in the year 2000. So if I go back here to my folder and I look at BP069D, so 69 is the code, 069 is the code here on the file, BP for ballpark, D for day game. I'm going to open this up. And there you have the image. Oops, I must have clicked something there. Here we have the image that shows up in my game. Right here, this image here. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to replace that file. So I'm going to go out to Internet Explorer, and now I'm just going to search for Comerica Park. I'm going to look for an image, and I'm going to filter it and just get a large image. So any number of ones that I can choose here, and one particular ones that I think look nice, I'm going to take a shot at which one? Let's see. We'll go with this one. Okay. So in order to convert this to a bitmap, I'm going to use Microsoft Paint. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to copy this picture. I'm going to go to Microsoft Paint. I'm going to paste it. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a file, save as, and I'm going to save it as a 24-bit bitmap image. Now I'm in the Strat-O-Matic data folder, so I'm going to scroll down to that BP069. Right here, but before I write over this one, I'm going to rename it. So I'm going to call that 69DA. Now I still have my original in there. But anyway, now I go back here, I rename this to BP069D.bmp. I'm going to save that. And now, if I go back to that folder, and I look at BP069D, this should be my new Comerica Park image. Yep. Reason I can tell is we got a California Angel hitter up there. Looks like it might be Shane Victorino. I don't know. Can't really tell. And in my game, I have this version with looks like somebody from the Astros is up. So I'm going to close this. Yeah, what the heck? We'll save this game. And now if I reopen the game, I should get my new picture of Comerica Park. And there you go, Shane Victorino up on the screen now. So if you want to replace any one of the ballpark images with an image that you like better, you can go to Brian's Ballparks. He actually has a bunch of ballpark images, but also he's got that chart that will show you the code for the ballpark that you want. So again, if I was playing the 1968 season, I would look at this chart. I think BP014 is Tiger Stadium, but since I'm playing 2012 here, I had to do the BP069D image file. Next, I'm going to show you some really cool stuff that Butch Jerome has been doing with ballpark images. So give me a minute and I'll take you there. Okay, so I'm sure you're all familiar with this Facebook page. This is our Strat-O-Matic World group, the best Facebook group on the planet. But there's also another really cool Facebook group. This one's called Strat-O-Matic PC for Sports Emporium. This is Butch Jerome's Facebook page, and he does all things Strat-O-Matic. So not just baseball, but he's got some nice football resources for you, basketball, and so on. I'm going to be concentrating on the ballpark images that he does, but this guy does some really cool stuff. Yeah, really cool stuff to do with Strat-O-Matic images. Like, for example, look at these big basketball cards. That's cool stuff. But I'm going to just scroll down here and show you some of the ballpark images that he's done. So here we go, 33 plus images. You click on this one here. Which ballpark is this? I don't even know.
Camden Yards, you moron.
Something. Right?
Camden Yards.
And you'll notice here he even does nighttime versions of it. So here's Fenway. He creates a nighttime version of Fenway Park. And these are all high quality, high resolution images. So if you want to replace any of the images in your Strat-O-Matic baseball folder, this is another really good resource for image files. Some of these, like, I like to look at the ballpark as if I'm sitting behind home plate. And Butch somehow figures out where the best images are for these, because I guarantee you, I can Google progressive field or whatever. I couldn't find this image. Just this time, this is like a perfect one for me. I just love the way they look. I love the camera angle that he uses. So when I want to use some of these, when I want to enhance my game, I can use some of Butch Jerome's ballpark images. So if you wanted to use one of these, here's another one of my favorites, Oakland Coliseum, right? Just go to his Facebook group, find the image you like, right click on it, copy that image, and then use whatever software you use. Microsoft Paint's a good one. Just paste it in there and then save it as a bitmap. Look at the codes that Brian's ballpark, his chart has for you, and then you can save Butch's images right over top of yours, and you're going to get some really cool looking ballpark images for your Strat-O-Matic game. Thanks again, Butch. This is just crazy cool stuff to me. Next up, I'm going to go over two files that are kind of important with the game screen, overall the game screen, and with player locations and other things on the ballpark image. So if you recall, I had a different image of Comerica Park here, and now I updated my image, but you'll also notice now that the player names don't line up with the positions that they're at. Now this information is stored in what's called a location file. So it'll be a .loc file, and it's associated with the ballpark image. So let's go take a look at that. It's in the data folder again. So we're going to find that BP069. Day, BP069D.bmp, and you'll notice right below it is a BP069D.loc. Now this is just a file that the game uses to store information regarding where these things are located. So I can try to open this up in Notepad, but you can see it's just it's not a standard text file, so there's really no editing we can do with this file. The way you change information in that location file is in the game. You go to the options, and then we'll go ballpark locations. Now this can be a little tedious at times because you need a file like this for every ballpark. I think Butch Jerome and Brian Berglund both include location files with their ballpark images. I'm not 100% sure on that, but if they do, that means that they went and moved these things around so that they match their ballpark. So to give you an example, I'm going to move this third baseman down closer to where third base should be. So I went to options and then ballpark locations, and right now home plate. You can see this box here. I'm going to go find third base. There's the third baseman, so that's where he is. And here's his X and Y coordinates. X is from the left over. Y is from the top down. So I want to move this down. That looks like maybe 100 pixels. So I'm going to move this to 355. Oops, that looks like that was too much. So let's go back to 300. There we go. So I'm going to OK that. And you can see now my third baseman is down here. We're going to do the same thing with the shortstop. Now you can do all the positions at once. You don't have to open this at a ballpark locations every time you want to do one particular position. You can do them all at once. So we're going to go to shortstop, and it looks like where we want to go here, maybe 280. Okay, and then the second baseman, I'm going to bring that one down to 280 as well. There we go. So now my shortstop, my second baseman, this is the pitcher here. So I think you get the idea. When you want to move things around, you use that option, and it's specific to the ballpark. So a quick little review here. We have ballpark 069d.bmp. That's this image file. And this bp069d.loc is the location file, which it stores this information on where these things should be located. So I'm going to close that, and then we're going to go over what the layout file is. Now this one, I guess I should have left that open. We're going to go back to that data folder. And then there are files called gamescreen.lyt. This is like the default, but you can create whatever kind of layout you want, and the layout will have things like where you want the card images to show up, where you want the player images to show up, where the dice should show up, and so on. So for example, in this particular instance, I'm using a game screen layout called gamescreen2012.lyt. I'm going to take a look at that because this is a text file. So I can open this up, and here we see a bunch of text information regarding where things are located. Okay? So right now, if I look in this file, and we see this thing where it says pitcher in brackets, that means the next few rows until it sees another set of brackets pertains to that particular frame. So the picture frame is this one right here. The top is 473 pixels from the top of the screen. The left is 79 pixels from the left of the screen. And if we go from top to bottom, 473 to 675, from here down to there, it looks like we're at about 202 pixels, and if we go from left to right, we're at about 130 pixels, and the ratio there is still the 180 by 270. Now if I wanted to change this, I can just edit it right here in the layout file. There's two ways to do it. So if I just go to the game right here and I want to move this and move this over here, and we're going to resize it some, there we go. Now I got the picture there. Now, until I save my layout file, it won't save that move. So if I go back here and I'm going to load a game screen layout, it's going to be that 2012. Boom. That's where this image was. Now, if I want to change the size and shape of that, like I said, I can move it around, or I can go into the layout file itself and move that. So I'm going to move this picture image up 20 pixels. So we're going to go 453 on the top, 655 on the bottom. I'm going to save it here. Now if I go in here and I load this layout, it moves that picture image up a little bit. Now the thing I like about doing it this way is I can keep this layout file open in the background, make my tweaks, save it here, and then I go to my game and just reload it to test it. So for example, this particular image, the picture image, now I'm going to move it over to the right, say 200 pixels. So I'm going to go, you have to add the left and right parameters. So I increased the left by 200 and I increased the right by 200. I'm going to save this. And if I go to options, game screen layout, and load it, it moves that image over for me. So that's how a layout file works. Now, there are tons of things in the game screen layout file that you can edit, but there are some things on the screen that you can't edit. One of the ones that a few members have asked about is the font for these two player names. The name of this frame is called Players, or I'm sorry, Names, I think it's called. I go to game screen layout, and we look at, where is it? Names, right here. If I check that off, it hides that small frame. So I'm going to put that frame back. Now, it would be nice to be able to stretch this frame, make these names a little larger, but I've poked around in the layout file here, and I can't find anything that has to do with the name. I even tried adding, an option in here for name and name font and a couple other things, but I was unable to get this to change. There might be some way to do that, but I have been unable to figure that one out. But there's a few little limitations, but all in all, I think you'll see that by using the game screen layout, either this way, hopefully you have a better understanding of how it works, and but now you know what the game screen layout is, what it's for, and I guess the last thing I should do is show you how to load and save a game screen, and that's I kind of blew through it real quick earlier, but if you click on options and go to this game screen layout, you can load or save a layout. So if you ever make changes to your layout here, you want to go to the options, save the layout, and you can give it any name you want. So I'm going to call this one Game Screen Layout 2012A. Okay, now I'm going to load that original one. Okay, so I'm sorry, that's the same as this one. So I'm going to move this image over here, and then I'm going to save this now as the Game Screen Layout 2012A. Yes, I'll replace it. Okay, so this is the Game Screen Layout A. We're going to load the original one, and you'll see it moves the image back down there. Or if I go to the Game Screen Layout 2012A. So the idea there is you can create multiple different layouts, however you want, save them, and then depending on who's playing your game, maybe you want to change some of the layouts. Okay, so that's it for today's lesson. Thanks for stopping by. I'm planning on doing a few more of these videos. I'll try to do one a week for you if I can. Not sure what the future things I'll go over, but when I decide or figure out what I'm going to do, I'll post something in the Facebook World Group. But once again, I hope this helps you out with your Strat-O-Matic PC Baseball game, and I really appreciate you stopping by and spending a few minutes with me today. You have a good one now, and I'll see you next time.